Ladies and gentlemen, Caravan fans, welcome back to Mount Carmel's official weekly sports update podcast, Shoulder to Shoulder. My name's Matt Malloy, going to be hosting it today with my good friend Christos Dimas. Christos, we haven't done one of these in a while. How are you feeling right now?
Feeling good, Matt. Coming out of brief retirement right now.
Ooh.
But it's a Friday, and we don't have a game today, so it's a bit of an interesting feel. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty great.
Yeah, I don't really like this feeling. I'll be honest. Saturday games are kind of hit or miss. I remember last year when we played Batavia on that Saturday night, kind of Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
That was kind of a good feeling in a way, just because of how the game went. But we had to wait an extra day to get to that great game. Now we're just feeling like kind of a slugfest right now. We're going day by day here. Uh, Game tomorrow will be 5 o'clock. That's the kickoff, and we're playing St. Charles North. The North Stars traveling out here to Bardowling Stadium. We'll jump into that, but right now I want to talk about what happened last week. The Caravan were coming off a 31-7 loss against Loyola. They had to travel out to Harlem High School up north for round one of the 7A IHSA playoffs. Christos went pretty well. 56-14 was the final score. We had a lot of backups in there by the time the second half rolled around. I know you weren't there, but overall, what are your thoughts on starting off the playoffs that great?
It's expected, right? Especially coming off of that tough loss against Loyola. I think not only were we just a better skilled team, but we also wanted it more. We're hungry, and I know I mentioned this during our last broadcast, but I think a loss at the end of the season is not necessarily a bad thing. It can be very motivating if you have the right glue guys that kind of come together and push the team throughout these next few weeks. So, and that obviously showed against Harlem, right? We killed them. And you mentioned some backups getting in. It was nice to see a guy like Jake Carroll at the end. All that hard work pays off for the other guys that are also working hard. And Jake Carroll gets his first touchdown. So
Yeah, it was a great feel. I was right down there by the end zone. The second the ball touched his hands, I heard somebody just scream, "That's Carroll! It's Carroll!" So I think it's kind of obvious that we love it when those guys get in, especially a red hat like Carroll, who puts in a lot of work. Um, there was a couple of other guys in there as well. Ethan Batting on special teams had a fumble recovery. Emmett Dowling, obviously, the backup quarterback, junior, got some playing time earlier in the season when Elliott was hurt, but now for him to get in, and this was his first time playing in the playoffs, that was pretty special. So um, that's all we really got to say about Harlem, though. As far as the game goes, getting there was an even bigger experience than the game, I would say personally. Um, we stopped at Northern Illinois, NIU, on the way up there, and I'm gonna remember that experience for sure. We got to walk around their practice facilities. I went on the field and interviewed Vince Cronin, the captain. We went in the locker room with Coach Lynch and his younger brother, who is currently playing for the Huskies. We went in their weight room. The guys got kind of a quick lunch there, had team meetings, ran through some things, and then we were back on the way to Harlem. But man, when I look back on that day, NIU was pretty special. I'm very grateful I was able to be a part of that. Um, I know Christos, you and I were kind of too young to remember Coach Lynch at all, really, as kind of a player. But looking back at just the stats on paper of how good of a quarterback he was during his time at NIU, that's insane. He's a Heisman finalist. We're obviously glad he's here, but I think what was even cooler is people talk him up a lot because of those stats, because of those touchdowns and rushing yards. But to see him and the way he responded to these people that graded us at NIU, I think that was awesome. Because that used to be his home. I think a lot of people can relate to that, going back to your alma mater, going back to your school, and seeing him go back there, meeting up with his brother. I don't know. I just think it's kind of it's good to see things like that. But yeah, he was probably a little nostalgic. When I was out there on the field interviewing Cronin, I just saw Coach Lynch kind of staring at Husky Stadium. He's just kind of staring at the field, right? Maybe he was getting a little nostalgic, but yeah, he very glad we got to experience that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think he finished third in Heisman voting there. Historic, and he was kind of the guy that really uh, pushed the Caravan offense forward. I think in this new era as a player, great runner, but also a really good passer. We have seen that from guys like Donovan McNabb, maybe, but and then obviously as a coach now, each quarterback that he coaches just breaks the passing record.
Oh yeah,
So to see that, just a culmination of all his hard work. I obviously wasn't there, but it's definitely a very cool experience to practice there, kind of getting the mindset, and I think that sets up perfectly for a big Harlem victory.
absolutely. Yeah, great feeling that entire Friday. Guys got out of school early. They did not get out early today, though. Like we mentioned, tomorrow they will be playing St. Charles North. The North Stars only have one loss. That's to Batavia. Wasn't so much a blowout, but it wasn't really a close game. We've beaten Batavia now the past 3 years in the playoffs. Obviously, starting back when we were freshmen. 3 years ago, we beat them in an immediate classic showdown. There was no time on the clock because of a defensive penalty at the end of the fourth quarter. Denny Furlong runs it in. Everybody knows the story. Everybody's seen the play. Um, you know, the year after that, we beat them in the state championship, and then last year we beat them here back again at Barta Dowling, and we handled that pretty well in the semis to then go on and play in the state championship. I think Batavia is a big contender for us to play in the state championship, and the fact that they were able to beat the North Stars so handedly shows that if we respond to St. Charles's offense that is on a very good run right now, if we can respond to that in the same way Batavia does, I am very excited by that. That makes me puts me at ease in a way because I know that if we do make it to the state championship and if Batavia also makes it there, that'll be a good matchup for us.
Yeah, definitely, Matt. I mean, they would be playing each other every year that we've been here now
Yeah.
at Mount Carmel. And it's like you said, it's turned into such a huge rivalry. They hate us. I know that they hate us, because they ain't us though. So
Yeah, that's
but definitely whether it's a close score or a wide margin, it's always turning out to be a pretty fun game to watch. Um, but there's some other guys on the other side of the bracket there that I think might have a better chance.
absolutely. Yeah, I know DGN comes to mind, the guys we saw
Definitely.
last year in the state championship, and then 2 years ago we beat them in round two, which would have been this
Right.
exact week.
You can't
Yeah.
forget Rita.
Oh yeah.
Rita, that would have been the second time we played Rita in the semis, God willing. But they've gotten so much better since that week 2 matchup where we shut them out. Probably definitely our best defensive game all season, but they've improved so much since then, especially with their quarterback situation, their offense, and their defense was solid even when we played them. So I think that could be a very likely matchup, as long as both teams do well.
Right. I know looking back at past years, Caravan on average usually make it past the quarterfinals, right? If they
Right.
lose, it's in the semis or the state championship. Tomorrow though, got to be on your toes. You can't expect to just win a home game because you know, we've played tougher teams than them. Anything you got to throw all that out the window just because it is the playoffs. And I'm excited to see how we match up against the North Stars. The North Stars currently only have one loss. I mentioned that earlier to Batavia. We have three. That Hun game, Brother Rice, and now Loyola. We gotta just respond to that like we usually respond to adversity, which is at once having a goldfish memory, and also just handling it like we usually do week by week because this coaching staff is great for Mount Carmel and they know how to get in the right mindset for playoffs. One thing we want to mention, obviously, is Brother Rice and Fenwick, who are on the other side of the 7A bracket. They were matched up against each other in round one. That's a very tough round one
Yeah.
matchup. Fenwick came out of that one with a 12-7 win. Kind of a heartbreaker at the end there for Brother Rice. And now you kind of get in your own head about it because we lost to Rice. I know, obviously, without a couple of starters, but we lost to Rice in the regular season, then went on to beat Fenwick. Now Fenwick beat that same team in the playoffs. this is just football, right? This is any sport that has a playoff setup like this with the bracket system. This is going to happen. So, um, all I'm worried about is coming out soft and coming out flat. And I think right now though, that loss against Loyola completely flipped that 180. Our guys are ready for a game, whether it's on a Friday night or a Saturday, at noon. They're ready for anything, man. So I'm excited for tomorrow's game. I'm more so excited about what's to come after that. Hopefully, when we win. Yeah. Moving on, we'll talk about cross country. They wrapped up the season with sectionals last Saturday. That's going to be the season. Nobody's going to head down state, unfortunately. But Christos, just looking at the times here, you ran a 18:22, and Gabe Valerio ran an 18 flat. TJ Kolke ran sub 18 with a 17:56. That's incredible to have these young guys come in and running at around the same speed, maybe even faster than you are. So, what's it like? Because you're one of only two seniors in the top seven for MC. It's
Yeah.
you and Dom Mancia. What was it like last Saturday? Things were kind of up in the air. Like, we don't know, right? Somebody can come out, run a very great time, and head to state. That didn't happen, but I still think the list of guys we have here is pretty good.
I think we kind of just left it all out on the line. We knew that it was a very big chance that it might be our last meet, so we ran like it. And I think for me personally, just being through, I'm not the runner I used to be 50 pounds and 3 years ago,
Yeah.
50 pounds lighter, that is. But I left it all on the line. That was by far my personal best this season. And to see guys like TJ and Gavin, uh, Gabe Valerio kind of step up, I know that program will be in good hands for years to come. And I think also it was pretty cool. I'm the only senior, I believe, that has been here all 4 years.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I've come and gone. I remember first practice with Ethan Baddick. He's playing football these days. But it was pretty cool just to be with Coach Burke for those few hours on that Saturday and kind of take it all in. Because we're the two constants in the last 4 years. He's been a pretty big mentor and role model for me at Carmel. So it was just a pretty cool experience to kind of reflect on my time. Not something I necessarily like doing, but something I don't regret doing at all. It helped shape who I am today.
Oh, what a response. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that's it for cross country for you, though. Hopefully, these younger guys can make a name for themselves next year when they fire it back up. Uh, Firing it up. Hockey team
Mm.
didn't do that so much. Halloween night, October 31st, they headed out to Oaklawn Ice Arena to play the Crusaders from Brother Ice. They lost 11-0 was the final score. I think the hockey team is not so much a slippery slope, but when they get out there on the ice, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. We might come out, get some pucks in the net, and then there's other days where things like this happen. They're trying to improve. New head coach, kind of new system overall. How can we learn from this loss?
Oh, Matt, I was talking to the guys, and they said that game, hard to imagine, but that game was a lot closer than the scoreboard shows. They pulled away really at the end. But like you said, you don't know what to expect because this team, talent-wise, has a lot of potential. They have a lot of talent. The issue is just kind of gelling as a team and being able to execute, follow coaches' plans, right? They did that perfectly against that strong top 15 Plainfield team early on. But I think as the season progresses, I think they're going through a bunch of team bonding experiences right now, whether it's a little camping trip or a little something. But as the year keeps going on, the chemistry keeps building. I think they take that loss with a grain of salt. Just know that you've been improving since last year, and know that there's a few months left of season, plenty of time to keep stacking up more W's.
Right. I know you wrote that article right at the beginning of their season. A lot has changed since then.
Right.
I don't know if I'd say kind of for the best with
No.
losses like these, but There's plenty of hockey left to be played. This is a long season. It's not a 3 or 4 week one. It's more so a 3 or 4 month kind of one,
Oh yeah.
maybe even longer at that. So they've got a lot. They've got a lot of time to figure out how to fix games like that and how they can come closer together. Our last wrap up for today though was chess. They also unfortunately lost this past week on Tuesday to St. Francis Parker. Leonard Siegel came out with a win. That was kind of it, though. Everybody else either came up with a draw or a loss. Um, not much to say there, I guess, because it's so early on with chess, it's hard to tell. I do think their lineup is kind of secure, though. They have everybody where they want them. For those who don't know, you have 8 boards. So you put 8 guys out there. Board number 1 is your best player. Board number 8, your least skilled one. I think after talking to Declan Deering, he said, we need to kind of get our top boards kind of 1 through 3, maybe even 4. We need to get them more involved because a win from board number 1 is worth more points than a win from
Yeah.
lower down. And
I think it's 12 points, and then the lowest board is 5 points only with the win.
yeah,
I think so. Yeah, huge difference.
yeah. So like a staggered point system like that matters. A couple of sports use that, but especially in something like chess, which I didn't know this before the season started. Each player gets 40 minutes to make a move, so they didn't even. I don't think it's so much like a time concern or a stress thing. They gotta find some strategies to win now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that time thing. It's oftentimes the guy who has more time that loses. When you watch some of these
Mhm.
matches because they just spent so much time going, but or spent how should I phrase that? They moved too quickly,
Yeah.
and the other guy's really spending a lot of time planning out strategic positions. And that happened with Declan Deering just a couple weeks ago against Latin. He had 10 minutes left. The opponent had a minute and a half, but just pulled out the win.
Yeah. So we're looking to see these guys succeed. They've got a lot of time left to do so. Hopefully, like hockey, they can get things going pretty soon. That's really it, though. Soccer's season ended. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago when I was with the Damon brothers. And really, the next time you see us, even next week's episode, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks, we're really going to be heading on into the winter sports season. Basketball tryouts are this Monday, Christos. You'll obviously be there. You're on the team with Coach Seagroves. I'll throw it out there. This is a very kind of open response. What can we expect from the program this year? Coming off from what we had last year, that can be a tough question to answer.
Um, it's gonna be more of a grit match this year. You're not gonna be seeing 6'7", 6'6", 6'5" out there. Maybe 1 6'5" guy. And the lineup is totally up in the air right now. I'd say the only guys that really secure their spot in terms of consistent minutes are, of course, Grant, who recently committed to Air Force. You got Cam, Noah, and then maybe Dylan. And I'd say every other spot is up for grabs right now. And a lot can change within those next 2 weeks. So the roster. That being said, the roster on game 1 at Loyola for the Thanksgiving tournament could be totally different from the roster.
Yeah.
Game 25 against DePaul here. So,
Yeah.
um, you mentioned hockey being a long season. Basketball is just as long. Basketball and hockey are the longest seasons by far.
Yeah.
And I think in a way, it's such a hard sport to do well in, especially in the playoffs, because of the length and the endurance you have to have, not really just physically, but just mentally, to go through all that and to be able to, as a coach too, you think about it, you have to be able to see lineups, adjust, keep doing that for 35 games, and then restart and do it for playoffs. So I'd say we'll be small ball, we'll be really guard heavy. You'll see a lot of gritty guys out there as well, especially on defense. And I'd say you can count on us to make just as big of a run as last year in terms of our potential.
And that's great to hear because kind of like the second we lost at state last year, people were like, "Well, that was
was
like
that.
that
Yeah.
was the our chance." But no, it's like the starting lineup wasn't all seniors. We had guys like you mentioned, Grant Best, Cameron Thomas, Noah Mister, Dylan Fulbright.
Right.
There's plenty of guys that were young then that are now senior leaders now that can make an impact. So I'm excited, obviously, to start streaming those games in the winter and start announcing them with my guy Marty Mann, who hopefully will bring on shoulder to shoulder when that gets going.
Right.
But you and I are focused on tomorrow because this might be our last football game we call, and it might be kind of the last home game of the season. So things are up in the air right now with this change between fall and winter sports. We're excited for both of them. We're even more excited to see how football can obviously do because they are in the running for a back-to-back-to-back state championship. That's what we're looking
Yeah.
for. They're looking for that third ring, and we're looking for a great game tomorrow against St. Charles North.
Yeah. I wouldn't even think about the three-peat there, Matt. I would think it's a new season and forget what happened in the regular season. Just remember, stick to the leadership guys, stick to the glue guys, stick to your guns,
Yeah.
run the ball,
I
get some good balance in there, and do what Carmel guys do.
love it. Yep. Hopefully, we'll see that tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Folks, thank you for tuning in. This has been your weekly sports update here at Mount Carmel High School. Have a great day, Chicago.